IG Markets for the Open for the ASX 200. We're joined by Cameron Peacock from IG Markets in Melbourne. Cameron, good to see you there. Yeah, what do you think? It was a pretty lacklustre night, wasn't it?
Yeah, good morning, Bridie. That's right. Look, after managing to eke out a gain of 0.1% yesterday, we're currently calling the market up about 13 points or 0.3% around that 42.95 level. Now, overnight we had European indices getting off to modest losses to start the week. We had the FTSE, the DAX and the CAC all down between 1.25% and we had US indices continuing that trend of negative Mondays. I think the Dow Jones has now been down something like 14 of the last 16 Mondays, so there's certainly a clear pattern that US markets are tending to get off to the week on negative footing. But albeit, we did see fairly small losses last night. The Dow Jones down about 38 points or 0.3%. We had the S&P down about 0.1 and the Nasdaq finishing relatively flat. But to be honest, it was a bit of a nothing session last night in the US. There was no economic data to focus on. In fact, it was the lowest volume day of the year. I think consolidated volumes across the New York Stock Exchange were something like 2.4 billion below the average of about 3.6 billion. So, absolutely no volume at all last night. And interestingly, we also had the VIX slipping below 14. Now, that's the lowest level it's been at since in almost 5 years. So you really get the sense at the moment that no one's really wanting to do anything, commit any more money to this market. It seems everyone's really just sitting around waiting to see until we get some definitive action from the ECB and the Fed, hopefully over the next 4 to 6 weeks. And it seems all anyone was really talking about in last night's session was Paul Ryan and his nomination as Mitt Romney's vice president running mate. So that certainly dominated markets last night, but didn't have much of an effect on the actual equity indices. So, I think we are setting up for a fairly bland day ahead today. A couple of things on the economic calendar which you touched upon on the Open. We do have the NAB Business Confidence Survey out at 11:30. Not a huge metric that we place a lot of importance on, but it is something the market will be watching. Of course, we do get NAB's third quarter trading update. That's due out at about 10 o'clock, I believe, and I think we are looking for something around 1.5 billion for the third quarter in terms of cash earnings. That could certainly influence the way some of the banks trade today. We had a slightly weaker dollar last night. We had mixed performance across commodity markets. We've got BHP's ADR called up about 3 cents, so looking at a fairly flat performance for our materials names today. But yeah, I'm not expecting a huge amount from today's trading.
Just the moves on the euro overnight. Did you read anything much into that, or is it the similar story of just a bit of short covering perhaps going on in terms of the euro sort of performing quite well against a number of currencies, including the greenback and the Aussie?
Yeah, look, I think the the euro started the session or finished our session yesterday at 4 o'clock around that 122.90 level. It did rise to a high of I think around 123.70 odd. I think that was definitely a little bit of short covering. I did read that this morning, and I think also we saw a fairly successful Italian bond auction at the shorter end. I think there's a few people expecting that Mario Draghi will recommence purchasing Italian bonds, in the not too distant future. So people are trying to get in ahead of the ECB, as the saying is, don't fight the central banks. So I think there is an expectation that bond purchasing program will recommence in coming weeks, and that's helped support the Italian auction last night and helped push the euro a little bit higher. So the euro, there has been a lot of shorts established in that over the last 6 months, and I think as we get closer to some imminent central bank action, that people are starting to unwind some of those positions.
Great to get your thoughts as always, Cameron. Thank you so much for that.
Thanks, Bridie.